Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is a real pleasure to welcome you to this third webinar in our series on Tourette awareness and support in educational settings. Thank you for being here and for continuing to build this community with us. Today, once again, I have the honor to introduce Kathy Giordano, Chair of the TTAG International Education Committee and a key figure in supporting families, professionals, and schools around the world. Her perspective, practical, compassionate, and experience basis is essential to understanding how to truly support our students. The goal of this third session is simple and very meaningful. To share our experience, our working models, and the tools we use in the real practice, knowing that this is our way to transferring knowledge and strengthening an international network of presenters. But we also want each of you to feel empowered to adapt this material to your own cultural, institutional, and personal realities. We are not looking for uniformity. We are looking for sensitivity, informed decision making, and the ability to adjust, which is exactly what neurodevelopmental diversity requires for us. So please feel free to take these ideas, transform them, and turn them into your own presentations. That is the essence of TTAL and the reason we are here today. So welcome everyone, and let's begin. Kathy, we are going to share your presentation. If we wait a moment, please.
Yeah, and thank you, Roxana. I think what you just said is really important. I have had to do, I've been doing presentations for over 35 years, and I've done some presentations that other people have developed, and I do better when it's my presentation. So, as Roxana said, look at this, use what you want to use, but make it yours. That's what's important. But feel free to borrow anything or use anything. Um, but it's important that when you present that it's yours, because that will show your passion and your knowledge. It just works a lot better when it's your presentation. But we're sharing ours, so you can borrow whatever you want, use whatever you want.
Yes, of course. This is the idea. So, well, Kathy, you just begin with a title that is not always the same title all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it depends on where I'm presenting, how much time I have. Because if I only have 15 or 20 minutes, I'll say a brief overview. So yeah, you can change the title to fit the setting.
And adapting to the situation, to the context that the you have to work. Okay.
Right.
So in this case, you call Tourette syndromes and related neurological challenges. Uh, and then,
Okay, so
who
I
are
I s-
them?
I usually yeah, I usually start out um because I want them to know that I've experienced this personally as well as professionally. I introduce myself as having a background in education, but it's also important that they see that my son had very significant Tourette, and that I added his drumming because that's what empowered him. That's how he got successful. So if you can include your child in a positive way, I support that. And like it says here, a lot of professionals told me that if he misbehaves, to take the drums away. And what I say is that I didn't do that because self-esteem is critically important.
Okay.
Next.
So yes, and you show your perspective. What is your perspective? Since you are talking about Tourette, it is the
Right,
perspective of a teacher and of a mother. Yes, and
right.
that is very important. And And you
So
present them.
this slide, yeah, this slide just kind of shows that I have three kids, and my daughter had Tourette as a youngster. It's better now. My son Jeff had chronic tics, and Matthew was diagnosed at the age of 5 with very severe. So this just gives the audience a view that I have dealt with different levels. So tics and Tourette across the globe is important because my middle son, who's now a high school history teacher, had chronic tics. He never had a diagnosis of Tourette. So
Okay.
you can use your family, I mean, or don't use your family. It's really up to you.
Yes, and it is a way to first empathize relationship that trying to empathize with the audience. Okay,
Right.
and in my case, as I not have a family with Tourette, but I am psychologist. I try to share simple my profile, the points that are related with Tourette and that perhaps could be useful for the audience. So, but
Thank
you
you.
can use each what you consider it is your power for for to people identify with you and consider meaningful. So
Yeah,
then,
and I've always thought it was important that they like me. I don't care if they liked me, but they're going to hear my message more if they see me as a person that they would like. So, however you want to get that across. And this is a slide I've been using for a long time because I just think it's so critically important to find the strengths of the child because most kids would try to do. Um, and one kid said to me one time, don't ever tell them what you like because they're either going to earn it or they're going to take it away. So find the strengths, support the strengths is very, very important.
yes, this slide is very important because you don't begin talking about Tourette. You begin talking about the strengths and talents of Tourette, and that is very important, I think. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Keep it positive. As much as you can keep your presentation positive, so much the
Yes,
better.
of course.
So here's just really, you can use this if you want. It just gives a little information about the background of Tourette. So
Okay, and then you begin about talking about Tourette,
yeah,
and then you decide to share a video, um, an inspirational video that talk about Tourette. That it is made by association Italian Association of Tourette. We thank them for providing this video. It is in several languages, and it is very interesting because it's in 1 minute they take they express a lot of ideas, feelings, and thoughts about Tourette. Why, Kathy, you introduce a video like this?
because I like to start out and touch their hearts. And this video is very brief. And it's about the young boy. You can watch it at your leisure, but it shows the struggles that he lives with. And I think just getting that across at the beginning, we start with a video that demonstrates how difficult it can be for students, and we end with a video that shows how an adult, we end with a positive video. So you don't have to use either of these. You can use whatever videos you think is appropriate to your region. But this is just you can watch it at your leisure. You can see the
Yes,
positive of it.
They call us egocentric. They call us crazy. They call us violent. They mock us. They ridicule us. They isolate us. They blame us for being annoying. They blame us for being embarrassing. They blame us for being offensive. but hardly ever ask themselves, why?
Yeah, and I just think it's very powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And talk about many issues about Tourette that we are talking, uh, that you are going to talk in the presentation. So I think it is very useful, this video. You can find it in different languages in our YouTube channel. So if you continue,
Yep.
the
So I
following
think I
slide.
think that oh, go ahead. I think this is important because people think it's rare. So this really shows a visual that this is not a rare disorder, that 1 in 100. And what isn't on here that I like to say is that statistics that really is upsetting to me is that okay, so 1 in 100 children have Tourette or a tic disorder, but only less than 50% of them are diagnosed. And that's a percentage that really upsets me. But so
Of course.
you can use something like this.
Yes, talking about it is not a rare disease. It is
Right. And people
something
are always
very
surprised at that.
yes, of course. And you continue talking about Tourette and chronic tics. You provide a bit more of information, but not a lot of information that we uh, talk about this in our previous webinars. Uh, so Tourette and chronic tics.
Yeah, and it depends on why you're there, but it also depends on how much time you have. So just explaining the difference between Tourette and chronic tics, I think people don't understand that. So just a really quick explanation of that and what that stress will increase symptoms for both and some of the things. So you can use this information to enlighten them.
Okay. And the next one, in this next one, you talk about motor tics and different kind of motor tics that they used to
And
see. They,
yeah,
they,
and there's so many. And if you're at a school for a specific child that has a specific tic, I would use that as an example. You can use, I mean, there's a lot of them you can choose from. Eye blinking is very, very common. But um, demonstrating it is also helpful.
yes,
Demonstrating eye blinking can show them why it's difficult for a student to read or to pay attention. So you can use this and use whatever ones you want.
yes, demonstrate tics is very useful, Kathy, because perhaps for us it is very common, very easily we know them, but many people doesn't know that could be a tic, for example, and if you do it, perhaps they can identify other people that has Tourette, or that it is a tic, it is a vocal tic, for example. So they are common motor tics and simple vocal and complex vocal tics.
One of the tics that I like to include is eye rolling because it's a fairly common symptom,
Yeah.
and it's teachers find it offensive. Teachers find it that they're being, but it's just a common, eye rolling is just a common tic. But, use whatever you think is appropriate at the time. And then vocal
Yes,
tics, same
yes,
thing. Sniffing is very common. Clearing the throat is common, but use
yes.
what would work for you.
Yes, what important you are saying, because there is many tics that confuse, used to create confusion in the classroom. And I remember a child that make this like it was to up the
Mhm.
shoulders, and teacher used to think that he never mind anything, because when perhaps they ask something to him, they respond
Right.
And yes, and they
Yeah.
and they thought that they never mind anything. So
Yeah.
um,
And the vocal tics, I mean, a lot of people think about the coprolalia, but we need to stress that the vocal tics are a symptom. It's not something of them being bad. It's not something that they want to do. I just did a presentation last week, and there was a teacher that was very angry because the child would repeat everything the teacher said, and I said, "See, that's echolalia." So giving it a name and telling them, it's really a symptom. He's not trying to be obnoxious. He's not trying to be rude. So
they are
thanks.
not intentional, and it is important to talk and talk about them.
Mhm.
So Tourette is more than tics. That is another concept very important to share with the audience.
Yeah, and a while ago I wrote an article called "Try This More Than Ticks," and it'll be on our website or on the YouTube channel, because it there's so many you can't describe. You can't talk about every tick that's possible. But they need to know it's more than ticks. In the last few years, I have been starting to use symptoms more than I use ticks because symptoms, people will say to me, well, I know it's not a tick. Well, no, but it's a symptom. So you can read this, it's lengthy, but you can, if you want, you can hand out the handout that tries more than ticks. It's been well
Yes,
received.
of course. And you continue with the thought, with the uh,
Yeah, because
creative or empathy.
trying to we at TTAG believe that awareness is like one of the most important things. Um, so, people can look and see ticks and that, but you need an awareness. You need an awareness of what Tourette is, what Tourette isn't. And Ross Green is somebody that I highly respect. And years ago, I was at a presentation and he said it's our explanation of the behavior that leads directly to how we respond to it. So if um, there there was a time that my son had very, very, very bad vocalizations, and the teacher came up to me at the grocery store one day and said, I was doing a lesson on Alexander Graham Bell, and I asked the class, what did Alexander Graham Bell say after he invented the phone? At which time my son had his vocal tick, and the teacher responded perfectly. She said, no, not that. Does anybody have any other suggestions? Perfect. So I don't like to use a lot of stories. I like to use some stories because people will remember stories. I've had people come up to me in the grocery store and repeat Matthew's vocalization to me
Okay.
because they
Wonderful.
remember the story.
What a good example.
Uh,
And you continue talking about assumptions about tics.
yes, a lot of times people will make assumptions. I think we all do. I think it's human. And one of the assumptions I hear a lot is that it's attention seeking,
Yeah.
purposeful, avoiding. But we need to figure out when and where and what task and what time of day. We need to be detectives. We can't use the assumptions that they're doing it on purpose, that they're doing it for attention, that they're trying to be disruptive. Because most kids with Tourette get more attention than they really want.
Yes.
So
And tics
be
interact
careful.
with the context. The contexts are
Yes,
not the cause, but tics interact with the context. So it is very important to be detective, as you said.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And try to avoid us. I mean, it's a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to have an assumption, but say to yourself, "Oh, I think I'm having an assumption," and then put on your detective hat.
Okay. So, well, you consider very important in the presentations talk about these inhibitions, this very
I
important
never
part.
leave this out. I don't care if I only have 10 or 15 minutes, I always talk about disinhibition, because I think if you have a real understanding of what disinhibition is, you understand Tourette. And it's kids will be saying things and doing things and having emotional reactions that they don't want to have. And it's because they know it's wrong, but it's just that they have to do it. It's such a strong urge that so recognize if a kid is doing something that it may be disinhibition, even if it takes a long time for it to happen, because they may be arguing with themselves in their brain, don't do it, don't do it, don't say it, don't say it. So it may take time, but it's really, really, oh my God, I think it's so important.
Yes.
And what really is at the base of it is the basal ganglia, because it's the basal ganglia that chooses and which actions to perform at the moment. I got this off a website. I didn't make it up. I used to be an English teacher, not science. So it's the basal ganglia that is out of whack. And sometimes the basal ganglia is good, sometimes it's not good. So I use this sometimes because again, I think it's a good visual.
Yes, the neural connections that have to inhibit don't do it as
Right.
as the rest of the people. So sometimes not only movement, not only sounds, but also behavior escape, and also
Yes.
feelings escape, also, and yes. So what important is to not to be a scientific, but perhaps mention this they so they can understand better that it is not only tics.
Right. Right. And it's not purposeful. So a lot of people
Yeah.
will tell me, so what's the difference between disinhibition and impulsivity? And so impulsivity is doing something before you think about it. So I like to say it's the Dennis the Menace type of thing. I did it, before I had a chance to think about whether it was right or wrong. So, that's this boy because he impulsively said something. But the disinhibition is something that they're typically sorry about. So come up with examples. I mean, you can try to come up with examples that make sense to the audience, make sense to you. I wrote down wet paint because if I see a sign that says wet paint, I have to touch it because basically because I'm told not to. So it's suggestible. So don't slam the door. They're going to slam the door.
Yes. This is the cinevision. Uh,
And there will be resources on our site explaining disinhibition. Just feel comfortable in how to explain it because it's very complicated. It's very hard to understand. So just figure out a way you can say it that the audience can connect with.
yes. How to copy with this? It is very important um, to give some tips, but as you say, it's very difficult because depends of the context, depends of each situations. But
Right.
here there are some of them that they
Yeah,
can.
and every
Yeah.
kid is different. So, don't take this as this is going to work for every kid because these are just we need to think outside the box. And these are just examples.
Yeah. So complex, often difficult to recognize. What wanted
Yeah.
to share with them? What ideas do you like
Well,
to?
symptoms change and they're unique to the individual. So if you do a presentation and you talk about, a specific symptom, this other child may not have that symptom. So you really need to express that every kid is unique. The symptoms change. They can suppress them. Just go through this list and try to feel comfortable with talking about each of these. And one of the things I usually end the slide with is the only thing consistent about Tourette is the inconsistencies. because that can be very confusing for kids.
Yes, and the adaptation that we can provide, it is not necessary that they persist all the time. It is during, um, um, it is try to flow with the Tourette, because Tourette wax and wane, the symptoms wax and wane, not only the tics, also but also the symptoms.
Yeah.
Uh, and well, you continue talking about the common co-occurring conditions. Um,
Yeah,
in,
I made this years ago, and it's become pretty popular, even other places in the world. So, um, and this will be, first of all, you can find it on the Tourette website, but it will also be on the TTAG website that you can copy and use if you want.
yes, this is a very nice, a very popular illustration about the iceberg of Tourette. And it is if you go into the Tourette Association of America, it is in French, in Chinese, in Spanish, and it is very, very useful. So, well, this is my favorite slide. Would you like to explain it,
Yeah,
please?
I'm going to explain really quickly because this is pretty complicated. Um, the reason I developed this because I went to a conference one time, and the doctor said that we have to recognize that the symptoms are comorbid, and the comorbid means that they impact each other. So the example I give is if a child is having some obsessive compulsive stuff going on, with being perfect, they want to be perfect, and a lot of kids want to be perfect in their writing, but they also have the ADD and the executive functioning, which makes it difficult for them to get thoughts from the brain to the paper, um, as well as writing difficulties. They impact each other.
Yeah.
Um, sensory can impact social skills, and then you got trying to suppress the symptoms all day long, and then you got the tics that are going on. It's just no wonder that some kids will get very frustrated, and angry, and some kids with Tourette will have the neurological rage.
Yes. And uh, each each area, each comorbid condition could directly or indirectly increase or decrease tics. They interact all the time.
Yeah, which makes it more complicated and hard to
Yes, it's
understand.
very complicated.
This
And well, what would you like to talk when you talk
this
about?
this is just a slide because I hear a lot of times, educators will say to me that he doesn't have a diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder. This just really very simply describes the difference between classic obsessive compulsive disorder and Tourette obsessive compulsive. And I think it's very important because most of us, I think most people in the world have some obsessive compulsive stuff, but people with
Of
Tourette may
course,
have even more. I know I have some. So
of course. And hand on to consider including.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's always nice to include an activity if there's time. That's a problem too. If you don't have enough time, you can't. Or if you think it's important enough, you want to include the activity and leave other stuff off. This is something that was developed years ago, and we have them write something simple. And we tell them at the beginning, y'all have Tourette. So when I clap my hands, you're going to do a tick, and you can demonstrate a couple ticks that they can do. You also have obsessive compulsive, and every time you write a vowel, you want to write it perfectly. And you got 2 minutes to do this. And so by clapping and having them do the ticks, they get frustrated and they understand the frustration that kids have. So I think a hands-on activity is fun. You can do whatever you want. This one has worked pretty successfully for a lot of people.
Of course, when I do um, this activity, and when the activity finish, I I also ask them, how do you feel? How do you feel with the tics?
Yes.
I get nervous. I get frustrated
Yes.
because I couldn't do it well. Yes, they can feel, not only they can understand, but also they can feel Tourette, and they can understand their classmate with Tourette. Yeah.
Right.
Or the children in classroom that they have with Tourette. And the compensator responsibly for range, injury issues. Uh, that another point very important to talk about the range, Angel.
Especially if that's why you're going into a school. You know, if they want you in the school because there's a kid that is throwing things, or walking out, or getting angry, um try to be the detective again. What's making that, and what can we do? And um ask the kid to be involved in coming up with a strategy. How can I help you? What do you need? Because these kids don't want to be rageful. They don't want
Yes,
to be hurting people or things. So rage, it's not, it's a symptom. It's not common, but it is a symptom for some people.
of course. And you like to talk also about emotional dysregulation. Why, Kathy?
Yeah.
It's
And again, this can lead to behaviors that we don't like. So as the vase is empty, their symptoms are pretty quiet. And then, they get on the school bus or something happens, they have a substitute teacher. Some kid is sitting next to them and coughing and sneezing, or the vase, their emotional vase gets fuller and fuller and fuller until it's full up to the top. And then something happens, and you can come up with whatever stories you want. But when the vase is full and something occurs, and the kid starts throwing things or has rage, um, what we generally do is look at happen right before, and we think he's overreacting. What we need to do is look at his vase. How full
yes,
is his vase? And teach the child to recognize their face. So, child, how do you feel when you're and show them a vase. Do the visual with them. How do you feel when the vase is getting three-quarters full or half full, and what will reduce it? Really important. What activity will reduce it? And again, that's not it's specific to the individual.
yes. And these conversations provide agreement with the child that can reduce the vase full. If you previously agree, what can we do? What can we do when you feel so? And then it is very useful because we reduce the the base. We will reduce the quantity of rage or anger, or the quantity of dysregulation are in the base.
Right.
So, well, you continue talking about positive proactive strategies. Why? Why do you consider important this, Kathy?
Yeah, this is kind of a summary of everything we've been talking about, how rather than being reactive and punishing, we need to be positive, we need to be proactive and positive with the strategies. So working with a student, um, giving written language support can be really huge, because a lot of times these kids are really bright and but are unable to demonstrate their true abilities. Um, Recognize that the symptoms are involuntary. Test in a separate location for some kids. Some kids don't want that. Reduce the workload, because then you're going to reduce the anxiety. I think it's so important that every school has somebody that's a safe person, somebody that believes in the child, who can talk to them, and give breaks as needed, not scheduled. I run into too many times the breaks are scheduled. Well, they may not need a break at 12:30. They may need a break at 11:30. So come up with a strategy, with how the child can demonstrate that their vase is getting full and need a break. Or you can even come up with strategies on, if rather than the teacher saying, Johnny, I think you need to take a break, because lots of times the kids will find that punitive. You can raise your hand, or do a signal that the child recognize as, okay, I think I need to take a break.
Yes, of course, and this allow me to have then a positive a positive way to being in classroom, and then you go back to your first thought in the beginning of the presentation, that was talk about strengths and talents. No? It is a way to reconduce the the presentation to this focus, and it is the objective of the education. No? Try to talents and positive behaviors appear in.
For my daughter it was drawing, and now she's a architectural designer. For my son it was drumming. And so we really supported his drumming, because that would reduce his anxiety, it would reduce his stress, and it would reduce the episodes of more difficulties. So find out. And for a lot of kids, it's doodling. Let them doodle. I can't pay attention in a staff meeting unless I'm doodling. So, a lot of kids, it's helpful. And if you want to know if they're paying attention, then ask them a question. See if they're paying attention. But if they want to doodle, let them doodle. If they want to tap, there's a whole lot of things. Think outside the box, be creative.
Okay. So finally, we shared this video that you consider it is a good way to end a presentation with a positive and optimistic point of view. He's Bijan Kaffenberger, is a young German politician belonging to the Social Democratic Party, and he shared with us these thoughts that we share with you.
Hello, I am Bijan Kaffenberger. I am a member of the State Parliament of Hesse in Germany, and I'm the head of the Social Democratic Party in my hometown Darmstadt. I was diagnosed with Tourette's when I was about 11, and it was after having tics already since the age of 6. As a public figure, I have to deal with reactions on my tics on a daily basis. Even though more people have a basic understanding these days of what Tourette is, I still notice that many people still have incorrect understanding of it. For example, the assumption that the well-known swearing is a necessary symptom of Tourette's and that therefore all those affected exhibit it. This is a very good example of what still needs to be done in terms of education with regards to stereotypes that we need to overcome to deal with Tourette's. We need to normalize it. And in my opinion, the best way is when we try to open about our individual Tourette's. Others should understand that Tourette does not necessarily need us in our workforce, in our well-being. And one of my strategies, and I meet a lot of people every day, is to, when I meet people the first time, just say to them, hey, it's just Tourette's, it's not an offense, and I give them my best smile. And this is a good thing for me to deal with it. And I think it gives also a comfortable feeling to those people I meet for the first time. The publicity that I got through my job also enables me to stand behind those of us who struggle sometimes, or those who have heavier symptoms. To be an advocate who has also struggled in the past and sometimes even today, it is important that we don't get defined by others solely by our tics, but by our character and the things that we all achieve. Tourette's is only one of many things that shapes us and to who we are as people. Let's show everyone how capable we are, because when we don't let Tourette's limit us, we can achieve everything we set our mind to. How about you? What are your strategies to succeed in the workforce?
No, and I like that video because for educators, because they get frustrated, and understandably they get frustrated. We need to support them so that they think outside the box and they think what's going to help the individual child. I can tell you that my son, who had very, very, very significant symptoms, is successful today because of his teachers. And if we can show the teachers how important they are, not only in grade 2 or grade 7 or grade 11, but for their whole future. And a lot, like this young man, is very successful, and people with Tourette can be successful. And one of the things that really, really, really helps is the educators believing and supporting.
Of course. And regarding to our previous video, it is important to say that people can or presenters can share the video that they like, the video that they consider. They can adapt to to their own culture, context. It is not necessary to be this. So this is our way to make the presentations, Kathy, but everyone can do it their own presentation. We want to empower to make this own presentation. So, well, you finished the
Well, you know that
your
I mean,
way
there's a lot of
with the
video. There's a lot of videos out there.
yeah.
So like Roxana is saying, you know, pick one that resonates with you. Just make sure it's positive. There's a lot of negative videos out there. There's a lot of, I'll say just negative part. Use a positive one. You end on a positive note. And I have loved this quote for years and years. Students don't care how much we know until they know how much we care.
Yes.
And for educators, that's huge.
Yes, the idea is that it's very meaningful to share in an optimistic, a positive video. Well, to reconnect with the strengths and the talents of people with Tourette syndrome. And you close with a reflection of Maxwell. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It is very nice. Yeah.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. So then you finish your presentation and this third webinar, I think is we can you can use them and could be useful for all people that has watching it. And well, we will continue doing research for association ambassadors and everyone who wanted to make awareness in Tourette syndrome. So
Yes.
thank you. Yes. Would you
And
like to?
yeah, and thank them for attending. Thank the educators. Educators don't get enough thank yous. Thank them for being educators, for being and for attending, and for any questions that they might have. And yeah, TTAG, what we want to support, there's a lot of organizations that are underneath TTAG. And if every organization can start doing presentations in schools, the awareness worldwide is going to explode. So I hope this helps you.
Yes.
And Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kathy, once again, for your generous attitude to share this presentation. I know it's going to be very useful for lots of people around the world that watch it. So see you soon, Kathy. We will continue working on this.
Yes, we will.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Roxanne. Bye-bye.